1. Going live. And we're live.
Alright. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
A great beginning to the new year for everybody. Hope everybody's been productive just like we have. And yeah, this is Sprite and Witchstream, and this is Starry Eyes, the Aether's Workshop podcast, where we talk about animation tips and tricks for you guys that you've submitted. And thankfully, we've been more caught up than before. So we have only a handful of things to review, but hope that these things will give some good insight for everybody, not just the people who submitted these. So let's go ahead and get this all started.
All right. So what do we have at the very start?
All right. The first will actually be a newcomer to Rivals Workshop, it seems. Finnick. And is a upstrong concept where the character is throwing an axe up into the air and he let goes of it accidentally. It's a really good concept for an upstrong.
Yeah, it is a unique one, but at the same time a familiar one. I love it. And they're already showing promise because, like, you know, we see here the usual different colors for different body parts as well. And it is slowed down so we could see the frames better, which is very nice.
Yeah, it definitely
sad
does
that
help.
we don't have the actual speed of this.
Yeah.
So, let's see what we have here. Actually, everything kind of looks good for me.
Yeah.
It's like, at first, it's like I could find something, but then I couldn't find something.
Yeah, this is a very strong submission that was sent in. Probably the only thing that definitely the follow up. Just keeping in mind because this character has a lot of flow to it between like the tail and the scarf. So a good little animation tip for you guys for that is that if there's like fabric or a piece of the character, like a tail or something, that is like always it's moving on its own in a way, like it has its own physics that it has to abide by. You can have a frame that's holding, like when he's throwing the axe up. You can use those frames of just like the scarf move, like settling back into place to make your animation less stationary feeling. It would actually feel like it's, you know, a active moving thing that's going on in the game.
The only criticism I have is probably a nitpick. It's not really that important at all. It's because of the tail suddenly just freezes in place in one point.
Yeah.
That, or like when you throw the axe, it kind of like he just stops in air and kind of notices it. Like, I feel like there could be like a bit more motion to that.
Oh yeah.
When he throws it, so like it like slips off the hand instead of stopping.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Other than that, it sounds good.
Yeah. It's also another thing that I would have as a bit of feedback is and I'm a huge advocate of this. I feel like this saves a lot of workshop characters' work. But being able to illustrate the personality of your character through their animation will make this animation seem that much more stronger. You could totally play up more with the noticing the axis out of your hand. Like something as simple as like the head turning towards your hand that doesn't have the X in it, and probably like turning the body around to be able to catch it properly or something like that. Just those kind of subtle changes that will reflect in your character's like personality in the animation will make it that much more strong once it's in action and that much more memorable. A lot of the characters that has this high status, I guess, in the workshop have like personality like spewing out of it. Like you can tell that this character is, is an actual like person or a thing that's like in this world, and it has the ability to interact with things. That stuff is important, in my opinion. So just probably just something that you would want to try and experiment with, is seeing what you can do with showing off the personality of your character.
And if you need to do so, like do wacky poses inside your room.
Yeah, that.
That's the great part.
Yeah, just always have fun with it, because you're the only person that can see it. Might as well have fun with it. All right, anything else you would like to discuss about this animation?
Not really.
All right, well, let's take it over to the next animation.
The next one should be Size. They're the one who made Zeta, right?
Yep. Zeta Dev is I will always be on the side of Sai and his animation philosophy, because it's very clear that the characters that he make are flashy characters, and they show so well in these animations.
And it's supposed to stand out too, and like they're not rivals like at all. Like they have their own personality, but it also blends well with rivals too.
Yeah,
and that's what I like. It just looks so good. All right, so we here have a three hit slash basically.
Yep.
And I don't know. Is there like a forward momentum for every slash here?
I'm not entirely sure, but the legs are definitely giving that motion. There's a lot of slipping and sliding that's going on around.
Yeah, because like you won't displace your legs like that unless it's like a moving jab kind of thing.
Like a good example for that would be Olympia's 1-2-3 jab, because I've made the animation intentionally so when you're moving from jab 2 to jab 3, she actually like switches sides and steps forward. Like that was an intentional thing, and I played it up in the animation. But I'm not particularly sure that's the case for this. If it is, then you're doing a good job with that. But like, it's hard to tell from this animation if that was the purpose or if it's just like weird alignment thing.
Yeah, in that case, I don't really like. I like how there's like it's kind of powerful. It's kind of it just sells the motion really well, and like the smears again from just like Zeta, they have a lot of personality to it. Although some slashes kind of look weird, maybe just me. Maybe it's just a space constraints maybe. And minor nitpick probably for me. Like again, this is another animation, one of those animations where it's kind of like hard to point out something, right?
Yeah.
Especially for this kind of character, because like there's a there is a lot of movement in the certain parts. The second job specifically though, I recommend, right? It's like or was it the first one where it's just exaggerate the cape?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like it looks like it's nicely exaggerated on the rest of the jabs, but like at the very first one, I feel like it doesn't have much movement unless you're purposely doing that and has a small amount of movement.
Yeah. The
You have
third
anything?
jab would be also for the cape as well, um, because the motion that's being conveyed now, there's like a lot of movement, as Wish said. Just a lot of body turning, a lot of just parts moving around. But on the third jab specifically, there's a frame or two where the cape is outward, but then it just like stays there for a second and just like closes back in. Um, being able,
Yeah, it's
it's just being able to draw the cape actually like flowing back down instead of being like open close. Uh,
yeah, it's a cape. It should float for a while,
yeah,
right? And smoothly go down. It doesn't like simply just back down.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there is a way to keep it like flowy without adding like 20 frames between it. Like one way that you can just like have the frame after the last slash before you go into the flourish to put it back into its sheath. You can start moving it back then. Um and if anything, there could be like an extra frame where you would just adjust the body so it will start to stand upward or go back into idle, and that will just give you an extra frame to work with the move the cape back into its like resting position.
Mm-hmm. In my case, on the first jab, right? I feel like there should be some at least of some flow to the cape at the very start. It's like it goes open right away.
Mm-hmm.
Like it flows the moment you do a slash. Because right now it feels like it's stuck to the body at the very start. And since it's a cape, it shouldn't be. Again, unless you're purposely mitigating the movement, though. So don't be afraid to like make it a little bit bigger. But I could see why you could probably not opt to do that, because like it could possibly be like too much of visual stimulation to the character.
Yeah. I mean, to give props where props is due, you are doing a really good job with the limited amount of frames you're giving yourself. Like, it's very easy for you to... Well, it's very easy for any animator to feel like, oh, it's not crisp enough, or the animation is just too choppy or whatever, and they add like 7 to 8 frames extra into what's going on, when ideally you only need like 1 or 2, especially for rivals. You're doing a really good job with just exaggerating like the poses that you're going for. These poses are iconic for this character. Like, you're really selling it up, and that's like a very big positive with this character.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
We got for this one.
All right, let's
Place.
let's move it along back to our favorite Spider Boy. All right.
Arshan. Arshan?
Yep.
I forgot the name.
Yeah. It's one of those.
Arshan.
Is one of those characters where they got a weird name, but we love them all the same.
Yeah.
And this is the dreaded run cycle. A lot of people
Oh yeah.
hate them some run cycles. I personally enjoy them, but that's kind of because like I kind of forced myself to get good at it. It was like the one thing that like I made myself starting out. Just I got a lot of practice in on run cycles, and now I can enjoy it, but I can see why people don't.
I love run cycles. It's the one that usually like you see a lot in a platforming fighter, especially like on long distances, or you move around that isn't jumping. So it's like the one that you need to sell the personality of the person on, especially if like on a very fast-paced game, and you're the type of player who basically just taps the direction a lot instead of making it like slow into a walk, which is pretty much almost everyone instinctively. So you gotta sell the, and in this case, from what it looks like, they got it perfectly.
Yeah, this is a really good run cycle. It's very simple. It shows off the personality. There's a lot of assertiveness that's going on in this animation. Like there's the run cycle gives a very deliberate feel to the character, and that's again, the more you sell your personality in your character, the better your animation gets. Like you can have like an animation that'd be like 3 frames long or something, but if you're showing off what the character's personality is, it looks a lot better than without.
This exactly plays onto the a video I recommended before, where the key poses of a character's run cycle will sell a lot.
Yep.
And in this case, like, it's not just the keyframes. I love it because it shows also the pace of the character is going. It's not too fast, it's not too slow, it's just right for this character.
Yep.
And I don't really have any other suggestions on this one. It's pretty good.
We picked this one because, trying to wrap up the whole like animation experts like pick list. But when I picked it, I was expecting to have a couple of comments on it, but this is one of those animations that sneak up on you. Like you look at it at first glance, it's like, okay, you'll probably need this and that, and then you look at it more and you like study it, and it's like, it's pretty solid. It really is. Like you even got the head bob. Like a lot of people love them the head bob. You're like, that's it's pretty nice touch. Good touch right there.
It sells the motion, unless like, what do you call this? Unless it's intentionally like, the head bob is there. It depends on the character. Like sometimes you'd see a character that's purposely not having a head bob because like they're super focused on what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah, it's there.
Yeah, this is another strong submission. I'm starting to think that people are stepping their game up specifically just to see if we can just find something else to break down. But you guys are really doing a good job with these, like all across the board. Like I haven't.
We would like submissions about the more basic ones.
Yeah,
too.
Definitely.
That'd be great.
But yeah, solid run cycle. Doing a good job. Can't wait to see more of this character because it's been a slow burn. I know why. I'm not saying rush it. Don't rush it. I swear to God, if you rush it, I'm gonna be mad. But,
yeah, that's the worst thing that you could do, especially on this environment. Like, God, how many people have we seen that got burnt out just because they tried to rush it?
Yeah, they were burnt out for rushing it. They were burnt out for trying to do multiple characters at once, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. But like, that's one of the animation tips that animators don't talk about because it's not animation, but it's more so like a mindset. Like, especially for Rivals, you guys are doing this for free. Like, slow it down, have fun with what you're doing, and I'm gonna keep repeating it every time. I know you're watching this. I know you're watching the VOD. I know you know who you are. But slow it down. Like, if you need help, this is what the podcast is for. Like, we'll help. We're all in this together, but do not burn yourself out. We want to see your characters out there. Like, the two of us and the rest of the server wants to see the best of what you can do. And if you feel like you can do better, take your time on it. We all take our time on it. It's not a race. No one's rushing for anything.
It's really just quality is king in this kind of environment. So pace yourself, do not rush yourself, and if you like if you rush yourself out there, sometimes like you'd miss something and then you'll get negative ratings for that, and that's something we all don't like, right? Pace
Yeah.
yourself, and if you have so many things to do, create a list of things to do and prioritize what you need to do.
Yep.
Like break down the larger tasks too. Like I'm not kidding. Like everyone's like, okay, I could do this in one day. It turns out to be a massive month to finish
Yep.
one thing. So break it down. All
I'm-
right. This includes to like those kinds of people who are trying to like finish a character in one go with all the animations done, and turns out in game it's just not right. Like make yourself like a phase where it's just the outline or just a sketch, and there's also the placeholders, and then like the final thing, because
Yeah.
you will need to tweak a lot.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Fun fact: every animation in Olympia's moveset, one day for just like that's
Yeah.
you try to do
Like
it
if
in
you
one
need
go,
to,
it's not gonna work out.
if you really need to see the results in game, just like make a sketch of it first. Don't go directly to the end result, because you might be frustrated to suddenly like, okay, you got a sword swipe, right? And it's too big, and you need to change it to something smaller,
Yeah,
right? You need to change it to something smaller, and then you have to reanimate the entire thing again, because like the motion is suddenly completely different.
yeah.
Don't burn yourself out by finishing it all in one go.
Like some people can do that, but that's only because, like, especially for me, like I've had years of just being able to just plan out what I'm wanting to do. Like that's what I went to college for, being able to have that kind of like mindset to think a little bit ahead on what I'm doing. And even then I'd mess up. Like I just have a general idea, and if I find something that needs to be tweaked, I'll tweak it, but I'm not rushing. Like there were like placeholder sprites in Olympia's development almost up until like release. So yeah.
Like actually, even now you guys don't notice it, but I do want to change a few of Astra's animations, because like they don't look right.
Yeah.
For example, back then, if you've been following Astra's development, Astra's forward tilt was like wasn't that good, and I have to change it around. And good thing I didn't like finish it all the way, so it made it much more easier to change than like being a slog.
Yeah.
All right, let's proceed to the next one.
All right.
Before we spring right on some more.
I think this is a one of those things that like animation, like anybody, pixel art, animation, whatever. Like this is a thing that no one talks about because no one thinks about it, because like, oh, it's not animation. It's just like mindset. No, you need to be in the right. You got to be able to handle your stuff. This is very important. You guys need to keep that in mind when you're making these animations for now and however else long you're going to be working on these things. For whatever. Just, this is important. And it's good that we brought it up in this stream, because we only had like 4 submissions.
Which is, by the way, the next one is the last one.
Yep.
Surprisingly, we made it in the 30-minute one.
Yep.
I thought we're not gonna make it. I thought we're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Someone noticed the Astronaut being looking a bit awkward. That is exactly one of the animations I do want to replace.
Yeah.
And hopefully before G7. So
yeah,
stay tuned for that. All right. Next one.
We have the old Cube dude doing what looks to be a forward strong. You know, it's hard to critique this one, not because there's nothing to critique, but because of the stiffness of the character itself. Because it's a block. It's just a block with some eyes in the mouth. Like it's intentional. However, I think what we can break down the most is the gem placement. like how the gems are being animated. I love the fact that you use a smear to like ease everything up into that fast motion that you're conveying. Like that's good touch. However, especially on a white background, just like taking away the opacity, it doesn't really work in rifle sense. I mean, maybe it does, but there's craftier ways of making an object disappear into the airspace of Aether. Like what I normally do for these kind of animations is have it like go towards white by taking the whitest color in the palette, or just straight white, because it's, you know, it's not a color that you're going to be manipulating a lot, and then just have it kind of just like Mega Man teleport out for like a frame or two.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my favorite tricks to do.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also one of those kind of animations that would benefit from squash and stretch.
Oh yeah.
You know? Like, so it won't look a bit stiff. Like, it gives it a bit more personality too. Like, whenever you have a fast motion, it's just thin, and then suddenly it's normal size and such, and then like wide. So it looks a bit more bouncy too, and it also plays into like, instead of like fading out, right? Instead of fading out, it's just like what Spar said about like a Mega Man style teleport. That would be amazing to see.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Even a cube like this would definitely benefit on like the principles of animation.
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate that you tried to do a cube first, because like definitely if I was something to make like my first character, I would go with a cube.
Yeah. Like just
In fact, I kind of like I'm kind of like curious, because I do want to see like the battle of cubes kind of thing. I was like, okay, who could give a cube the most personality?
yeah, that would be like probably the most interesting thing to see between like the new animators, or even like intermediate animators, to see like who could take the most stiff thing in existence and give it all the personality in the world. That would be a really fun case study to look at. Like that just, I'm hyped just thinking about it, honestly, just seeing what you guys can come up for that. But yeah,
Either way, it is a very simple, pretty straightforward animation here. I don't really have much complaints about it. It's just that if I would normally do it, I would do some bounce and stretch there.
yeah. You got the bounce and stretch for the whole animation, and then like trying to think of a more creative way on how to ease that the gems out, because there's the gems are like the most standout-ish thing about it. Like the shapes are just different than the cube, which for telling an animation, really good. That's really good for a fighting game, and that's a really good choice in design. But having it kind of just like dissipate instead of fade out would make it look that much more, you throw this word around a lot, polished. Ironically enough, we're looking at some gems, but still. But
Diamond.
Yep.
Hey.
But
All right, so another thing that I could think of that would give this personality, though, is like, what if you, instead of like having all the gems come out at the same time, what if you delay them a little bit?
oh yeah,
Like
that
each one.
that would
Kinda like a
definitely
wave.
that would definitely work too. Like
Mm-hmm.
that would be a really good way to actually like show the personality. Weirdly enough, not with the cube, but with the gems itself, because you know you can make personality out of anything. You can put personality in it, like every little thing you can animate. I mean, look at Metal Slug. That entire game is like what, 90% mech, and everything has a personality. Like, you can do it, and it works out. That's why Metal Slug is still like the highest praised like 2D animated game that we got, because of turning something that doesn't have a face or personality at all and just give it personality. Screw it, just do it. And it worked. It really does work. So kind of a wave motion with the gems would definitely help with that, showing that one case.
Mm-hmm. Even add maybe a bit of sparkle too if you want.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's really just a lot of optional stuff. You don't have to do that, but it is a good recommendation.
Yep. But yeah, I can't think of anything else I would recommend to this animation. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty simple. But I think we've covered all of the things that we can cover for this.
Oh, I just noticed something. PSA from Moral. Give your strong attacks highly visible startup promotions.
Yes.
And this is a good one, because like you want to sell a strong attack, because like, well, it's a strong attack. It's a heavy attack. It takes a while to get going.
Yeah.
You know?
And you don't need to make it so like the cube has to like reel back like 20 meters and then finally the gems show up. You don't really have to do that, but properly like literally just one more frame where the gem, like the cube would be looking down at the ground or something, and then there's something that shows that these are the places where the gems are gonna show up, and then once you get to the actual like landing of the hit or throwing out the attack, that's when they shoot up. It's also like another thing to keep in mind when you're designing all those things, as you said, because that's just another thing to plan for. There's a lot of planning in animation as well. So just something as simple as like the face looking down at the ground, especially for a character that's, you know, just a box. Just showing something with that would definitely help. There's again more personality telling, and also just showing the attacks. This is kind of a bad example of this because it's just a box, but it's still good advice. It's still really good advice to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we call in fighting games and platform fighters tells. It's just visually telling you what it's going to happen, and that is very important for a lot of reasons. But yeah, I think that's everything for this, isn't it?
Yeah, that should be it. And if you guys are curious, if we haven't picked up any of the other animations, either one, I think you already know what to do from the other episodes. 2, it is already extremely good. In this case, Vil. I am still gushing about Vil.
You keep sending
Vil's the fox that you've seen in several episodes already, right?
You keep sending these submissions like you're doing something wrong. What are you? What is your goal?
Why are you doing something wrong? Vil is a good character, though.
Vil is
check them out.
Vil is an amazing character.
Mm-hmm.
Talented artist.
They're not out. Yeah, talented artists. They're not out yet, but definitely follow their development.
Yes.
They're really good. Who's the creator of Vil again?
That would be Squally, I believe. That's how you... Yeah. Squally.
Yeah, they made they made a new Twitter account just a few days ago, so
yeah,
give them a follow.
Yeah, definitely check them out.
Anyway, so I believe that's it for this episode. And if you guys need some inspiration of how much personality you could put into a single thing, alive or not, go play Metal Slug.
Yeah.
Metal Slug is such an amazing game. It's a good example of giving basically a lot of personality to something so small.
You don't even have to play it. Just watch. Just look at it. Just that game is so beautiful to look at. Like playing it, you get overwhelmed. I know I got overwhelmed like my first 5 times playing it, but like once you like sit down and like see it in motion, the game gourmet food. You're gonna want to watch more of it. It's that good. Yeah, Metal Slug. That's your homework.
It's also a really good example of what sub-pixel animation could do. So.
Oh yeah.
Definitely watch. All right, and that's it.
All right. We will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you for stopping by, everybody.
Yeah, remember to shine your way and keep it simple.
All right. Peace, everybody.